The chairman of the Committee of Child and Youth Protection is with us, Bishop Cupich from Rapid City, South Dakota. Thanks for being with us, Bishop.
Good to be with you.
You've had a busy morning, and I really appreciate you coming by here today.
Well, yes, it was a good report on the John J. study to the bishops on the cause and context, and it was good that they had time for questions as well.
And it seemed like, I mean, the bishops were really very, very interested in learning as much as they could from this is just an interim report, really, right? That's right.
This study was commissioned back in 2002 during the height of the sexual abuse crisis. And the John J. College of Criminal Justice has now given us an interim report, and the final one will be given to us at the end of 2010.
It's interesting to see where we've been, and hopefully now, as they continue this report, where we're going. Could you say a little bit about your hope for the future there?
Well, I think that our hope for the cause and context study is that we can really get at what was the situation that led to this great crisis in the life of the church, but also what was the context so we can understand it. It's clear from the evidence already, from the data, is that there were things happening in the culture at that time that also was played a part in all of this. And so trying to understand the context is really important as well.
I think that's so important, Bishop Cupich, and I think that's where there's hope to really be gained from this, that we really recognize that there is a reason, and this is not just a blip on the screen, and I think what's important to point out, really what I'm getting at, is that this is a very exhaustive study. I don't know if there's ever been a study quite this vast before done.
In fact, no other institution has done any kind of study, even though there's quite a bit of difficulty with child abuse in our schools and in society with different organizations. The Catholic Church is the only organization that has had the courage to go move ahead and have a study like this.
And to a certain extent, we're providing a tremendous service to the rest of society to take a look at this, in a sense.
Exactly right. You're exactly right.
So that's an amazing thing. I mean, what do you see? I mean, if you could have, a crystal ball and kind of look into the future, how will we be able to implement this on a diocesan level, utilize some of this on a diocesan level in our parishes?
In fact, we're already doing that with our safe environment programs. We've already used some of the data to help us prepare children to recognize when abuse comes, but also to help families recognize when the dangers and risks are present in a school or any other community. So I think the more that we can help people to be vigilant, and also the way that we do our screening for candidates for the priesthood will be, I think, impacted by this study.
It was interesting that much of the data indicated that things in the seminaries were reflecting what was going on in society at the time, and how now we seem to be a little bit ahead of it in terms of what we're doing about human formation.
That's exactly right. When we began to see, especially in the 60s and 70s, various spikes in the culture in terms of deviant behavior that had an impact on people who were involved in the life of the church. And now those same kinds of trends are still there, and yet the church has moved ahead and looked for ways in which we can address those.
And that's part of the answer to a pretty good question about one of the bishops asked. It could have been Bishop Murphy, actually, about that rhythm of it. Could this happen again, in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that's what he was looking at is the delay in reporting and whether or not we are going to be surprised in the future by other spikes. And from the data we have, it's clear that there has been a predictable trend that we've been able to count on, so that we're able to say that the worst is behind us on this, and that we have seen a dramatic decrease in all of this since 1980. There's been a dramatic and precipitous drop in instances.
Now, do you find, I know even at the press conference today, really, you were sort of the star of the press conference. You can't help that, because I think the media loves this issue in a very real way, and they love to distort this issue in a very real way. Not to put any individual media down, but I think this has happened. We've been victimized by this. Don't you think this will help to clear up a lot of the misnomer, a lot of the twisting and turning that has often been surmised with this issue?
We surely hope so, and the fact that we have a credible organization like the John J. College of Criminal Justice doing the study in a very independent way and a transparent way is helpful. The fact, too, that the federal government has offered a grant to John J. to continue this study that is being conducted on behalf of the bishops also shows that it has transparency and also an independence that is necessary to clear up any misconceptions on the part of the media.
It's a wonderful service, don't you think?
Absolutely, and I think as we move into the future, there's so much hope here. I know that being part of a diocesan structure, we work very hard to assure that our children are protected. And so much has come out in these last years to help us with that.
I think that it's safe to say that there is no safer place for children today than in the Catholic Church.
And that's a wonderful statement to be able to make, and I hope that that's heard many, many times over, because I think that's a great statement to be able to make, Bishop.
Great.
What about the victims and the outreach to victims? Because I think we can't ever emphasize that enough, our outreach to victims.
I, in fact, just came from a luncheon with bishops, new bishops, to give them some orientation on this safe environment training that we have as part of the life of the church. And I mentioned to them that what we really need to do is always stay close to victims, because they will help us on a visceral level connect with the problem here, so that it doesn't just become some sort of clinical or administrative task that we have to take care of, but that we really connect with victims in a way that keeps before us the importance of this work.
Now, are you supported by a committee also in this work? Do you have a committee of bishops that assist you? I saw lay people with you, of course. I saw Bishop DiMarzio with you. I'm assuming there were some others involved too?
In fact, there is a lay board called the National Review Board. It's headed by Ms. Diane Knight, who is from Milwaukee. And we also have then a committee of the bishops for child protection, and there is a representative from each of the 15 regions.
Wow, so it's a large committee.
It's a large committee, and we have quite a task on our hands with completing the study, but moving ahead with better programs for safe environment training.
And it basically shows the commitment of the church in America really to this issue and to helping not only victims, but helping seminaries, helping the church to be vital, alive, healthy, and be able to help others.
We also, go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, and as you say, not only helping the church, but by doing this, we're helping society.
Without question.
Yeah, because this is an issue not just for the church, it's an issue for society.
And we're willing as bishops to hold ourselves accountable by having an audit every year that measures compliance with what we said we were going to do. It's an independent auditor who comes in, which we have to pay for, and they see what we're doing and make sure that we're compliant. Some dioceses are judged not compliant, and they have to make changes. But there is an outside independent audit every year for the dioceses.
And I would venture to say there is no other group in society in America that is doing that kind of thing at this time.
I know of none.